Last night, Jon Jones had words for Dominick Reyes on X. Jon responded to Dom's recent interview with Ariel Helwani. Dom said that Jon would forever be known for losing to him. Jon fired back saying, "What a claim to fame. Almost beat Jon Jones. Got full of myself and literally couldn't win another fight." He continued, "Dominick, when you look back at our fight, I don't want you to ever question me or those judges. Look at your own heart, your own endurance. You didn't do enough. The sooner you accept that, the better athlete you'll become." This user replied saying, "Reyes beat you that day. The whole world knows it. Then you vacated very quickly because everybody wanted to see a rematch." Jon replied, "Now I vacated because everyone wanted the rematch? I love you guys with your narratives. I poke people in the eyes, my arms are longer, I'm bigger than everyone else, I must pay the judge, I'm ducking. No one's in their prime when they fight me. Keep them coming." At the end of the day, Dominick trained for years to defeat me. He mentioned that I was always his target from day one. He had the chance. The fight ended with that man trying to survive. Another user replied, "For real. I'm hoping Dom has a nice comeback." Jon said, "I watched the highlight of his TKO earlier and legit had a smile on my face. Deep down, I have respect for all my former opponents. I wish the best for all of them. Wish they could just learn from the past and move on. I'd even be willing to train with most of them." Daniel Cormier reacted to the clip of him and Jon Jones talking on the phone going around social media. This clip also came from the new UFC Roku documentary, and it took place before Jon fought Ciryl Gane. DC responds to people saying that he looks like he's still bitter, and says him and Jon don't have to be friends and probably never will. DC also clarifies that when he gave the middle finger, it was not towards Jon.
My producers said to me, "Are you going to ask any questions?" I go, I don't know, right? Because you have to kind of gauge the energy. So when Jon says, "Hey, can I speak to Daniel?" Which was very odd because let's make no mistake about it. Jon and I aren't great friends. And we probably never will be great friends. And that's okay. That is okay. He and I don't need to feel like there is an obligation for us to have some sort of great relationship. It doesn't need to be that way. You know, I know a lot of people love where old rivals become friends. It doesn't have to end that way. Life is not all sunshine and rainbows, so you don't have to be friends at the end of it. It's fine. It's not a big deal. But I think Jon at times can be, and it can be odd when you come into contact with someone like that. And he felt like he wanted to do an icebreaker. So we start to talk, and I did have a question for Jon once he broke the ice. Because honestly, I don't know. I don't think I was going to. Once he broke the ice, it opened up an avenue for me to ask him a question. I asked him about the fight, specifically how he would approach Ciryl Gane and every other thing. And then the UFC pans to me and I flip him off. Guys, I wasn't flipping off Jones. Those guys, everybody made a joke in the room afterwards. And so I flipped the bird. But it was clever because it makes it look a certain way.
Ali Abdelaziz believes Amanda Nunes retired because of Kayla Harrison. Speaking to Submission Radio, Ali said Amanda Nunes did everything. She retired because Kayla was coming into the UFC. Number one, she left ATT because Kayla was training there, right? She turned on the people who really helped her, like Dan Lambert and Conan and everybody who helped her because Kayla was getting more attention. She'd grown, and she knew they were going to have to fight, right? Amanda Nunes, her biggest nightmare in here, it was Kayla, and this is why she retired. She has a lot of pride in her. She retired because of Kayla Harrison, and now she said she wants to come back. I don't think she ever comes back, but if she comes back, that'll be amazing. She trained a couple of times together, and whatever happened in the training room happened, and she never wants to train with Kayla again. She never wants to spar with Kayla again. She starts training by herself, away from the team, and every time Kayla comes to the gym, she left, and ATT really created who she is, and she turned on them because she thought Kayla's coming. And you know what? She was coming. She was right. Kayla was coming, but she was the champion. She was jewel of the gym. Her insecurity and uncertain about beating Kayla allowed her to leave the gym. I don't know, man. I don't know. I think Amanda, she missed attention, and I think enough pressure from me and you talking about it, all the media talking about it, it might tickle her ego a little bit for her to come back. But it doesn't matter if she wants to come back. She can come back. She's going to take the loss to Kayla Harrison and go back to retirement. Dominick Reyes says that even if he lost to Dustin Jacoby last weekend and made it a 5-fight losing streak, he still wouldn't have retired. Dominick said, "Nah, man, I'm not going to stop until the wheels fall off. My health is really, really good right now. I didn't even have that in my mind of giving up. This is such a dream come true. It's like living up your dream. I couldn't consciously give up that dream. Somebody would have to pull me away from it, and I would still try to fight to get back in. This is what I love to do. I love to compete. I love to fight. I really love to fight. I found out how much I really love to fight tonight. I started questioning things along the road, but going in there and feeling it again, it was like, man, it's so much simpler than we all make it. And I've made it over the last 4 years of losing. It just feels great, man." Ariel Helwani reports that the UFC 303 main event between Conor McGregor and Michael Chandler is once again uncertain. Last night he tweeted this: His latest on UFC 303. Around this time last week, all the anxiety surrounding the UFC 303 main event seemed to start to dissipate. By Wednesday, no more feelers about replacements were being sent out. All systems seemed to be a go. Later in the week, Chandler did an interview with The Pivot about it being all good. And on Saturday, UFC was promoting it again on the ABC Fight Night telecast. There was a scare about the fight being off, and the scare appeared to be no more. But since this morning, multiple sources are now saying feelers are being sent out again for June 29th for a replacement and/or new fights. In short, there seems to be pessimism all over again regarding the status of the UFC 303 main event. Actually, even more pessimism, it seems, than on Monday last week after the presser was canceled at the last minute. Is this insurance, due diligence, emergency replacement mode? Remains to be seen. It's all developing again, but it doesn't appear as though we are out of the woods either way just yet. More to come, and hopefully a definitive answer, one way or another in short order. Now that post was from last night. Today Ariel gave another update regarding McGregor Chandler. Ariel says the UFC reportedly isn't confident that McGregor versus Chandler will happen, and the UFC is currently working very hard to find a plan B.
Here we are, Wednesday, 1:13. The positivity that I talked about exactly 1 week ago today is nowhere to be found. I would say this fight is very much in limbo. I would say that it's hanging on. And I would say the UFC is working very, very hard right now to figure out a plan B.
Michael Chandler made a post a few hours ago on Instagram of him training, and fans pointed out how Chandler usually hashtags UFC 303 in all of his posts. However, today he did not. And that's going to wrap it up for the news. Thanks for watching. For daily MMA news and content, subscribe to Full Mount MMA and click the bell icon to be notified when we post videos. Here are the 3 top comments from last video. The first one's from Stephen Harris, 659. It says UFC trying to get Aljo to fight at his weakest moment and then not giving him the rematch. This is why fighters can't trust the UFC. The second one's from Omerta Pariah. It says UFC is always doing Aljo dirty. That ish ain't cool. And the final one's from Henry Hernandez. It's in reference to Chito Vera saying that Davies and Figueiredo will suffer during their fight. It says Chito says all this talk just to get stage fright and become a human punching bag on fight night. Those were the 3 top comments from last video. If you want to be featured in the next one, all you have to do is comment down below. And if you missed yesterday's news, click the video on screen right now to get caught up.